I cannot believe I am going to be talking about this, but a lot of people asked me. It's a little bit old, but this is really silly. And the fact that people are asking me about it still makes it even sillier. But it's a good example of people crying some kind of feminist principle without knowing what they're talking about. And this is, one of two things today. The second one's more positive, so I thought I'd do this one and then move on to the more positive one because I like to leave on an up. I am, of course, talking about the complaints on false feminist grounds that Wonder Woman does not have armpit hair in the upcoming movie and therefore is somehow bowing to patriarchal beauty norms because of a lack of the pit hair. And I didn't cover it at the time because I thought it was really stupid. But it doesn't seem to be going away on the internet. So here goes. Body hair historically is not a feminist thing. It's not a woman thing. And there's actually multiple reasons why Wonder Woman would have no body hair. Like, this is in the freaking New York Times online. Like, this is so ridiculous that this got so big. But the lack of female body hair on the female warrior makes us wonder if feminism was swept aside in favor of achieving the ideal feminine aesthetic. Okay. And then it says, it's really hard to believe that Wonder Woman, who's been in an island filled with strong women her entire life, is worried about waxing and then bleaching her pits. Bleaching? What? I'm pretty sure that's deodorant, folks. Like, Gal Gadot didn't want to stink. Period. End of story. That's what deodorant looks like. Holy crap. For all this so-called feminist outcry, this is actually a fixation on a woman's appearance that men don't get and is therefore what feminism is supposed to oppose. Let's just lay that out there right off the top. Hair removal in both genders or sexes, or however politically correct you're feeling this day, is a very, very old thing. It could be as old as going back to 30,000 years BCE, before the Common Era, for people who still use the, Christian terminology, BC. Why? Things like lice. Okay, anybody that played The Witcher 3 and there was that one line that he's got lice in his beard, oh man, the minute Geralt hit a town, I shaved that SOB, because lice is a non-starter. Mites are a non-starter. No, I care about Triss and Yennefer too much to have a dude with a laced up beard. No, gross, yuck. And that's why humans back in the day removed hair with sharp rocks, apparently. Oh god. Although I've seen some documentaries about how they made the sharp rocks. Fascinating skill, but I digress. In the ancient Middle East, in Egypt and India, for instance, heat made excess body hair uncomfortable and hygienic. So both genders removed all their hair. Both genders. And we are talking about the time that Wonder Woman's Amazons invoke, because they sort of go with that ancient Greek thing. So we're placing it at about the same time. So body hair removal for both genders was the norm. If you wonder how they did it without razors, it was sugaring, threading, and tweezing. And anybody that spent any time around families from the Middle East or India or places like that, South Asia, threading and sugaring are very, very common. I grew up around families where threading was a thing. Hurts like a son of a bitch. I think I tried it, but it's like, that hurts. But that's what they did back then for hygienic and comfort reasons. It wasn't until the Christian Revolution made its way to Europe that the hairy look came back into style. What is one thing Wonder Woman is not? That's right, Christian. She is a pagan. So that Christian idea of modesty, which is apparently creeping back into, actually, I don't think it's modesty in this case, it's purity. You're not supposed to touch your body for the purposes of cleanliness because, oh, that's dirty. Don't touch yourself even to make yourself clean. Ugh. And in World War One, the dresses were not exposed in that area. It wasn't apparently until the 1920s that sleeveless dresses were becoming popular again and women started shaving their armpits. But running around in a metal mini dress that's sleeveless probably also marks her as an outsider. Just saying. The other thing that we should consider is that Wonder Woman is not human. I don't know what origin they're using for this movie, but the traditional one, she's made of clay. And it could be when they were making her, they just didn't want to bother with all that extra work, giving her hair on her arms, hair on her legs. Not having head hair would look kind of funny. Not having body hair, less so. Nobody complained when they first saw her and she didn't have a whole bunch of leg hair. So that was okay. But now the armpit thing is suddenly some big symbol. Wonder Woman looks like a particular thing in people's minds. If they start mucking with that to make some political point, that would actually, I think, stick out more than just going with what people are used to, including in the 1970s, which was the height of second wave feminism, when the whole not pit shaving thing was big too. So this is really foolish, but also Wonder Woman is fantasy. Okay? Just like Batman is, just like Superman is. And while there's conversations had among geekdom about Batman's need to sleep and the number of times he gets shot and stabbed and all that stuff and how, unrealistic he is, versus the Batman fanboys are, Batman is the best superhero because he could really happen because Superman's an alien. His powers couldn't happen. Batman could really happen. No. Most people, can't go without all that sleep and get injured that much. Your body just quits. You get some sort of inflammatory disease, or Batman would be getting freaking traumatic brain injury by the time he was 50. Never mind Kingdom Come and the exosuit because his body's all broken. Batman would going freaking nuts like O.J. Simpson because of the number of head injuries he sustained. We start trying to make these superheroes real, it gets really foolish. Like, we don't want to break down the Speed Force. This is essentially a form of magic explained as science, as opposed to magic being science unexplained. They're excuses to tell exciting stories about people who are personifications of dynamic virtues, right? So we're not going to fixate on Wonder Woman's armpit hair or anything else about various elements of her. Gal Gadot was actually in the Israeli military, so she got through basic training. If she just happens to be this skinny, more power to her. She had to, tote around that assault rifle, so fine, awesome, neat, cool. But, bah, this is ridiculous. So let's move on to something more positive, because I'm actually kind of tentatively excited about this. The new Tomb Raider costume reveal, actress in the part thing. This just came out yesterday. Alicia Vikander, I think is her name. I've never heard of her before this, but here she is as Lara Croft, and I'm not so crazy about the costume. I will admit, I think it looks very by the numbers and not terribly well thought out regarding being adapted to screen. It's obviously based on the rebooted games, no surprise. But when you transfer something from a comic book to a movie, or when you transfer something from a video game to a movie, you have to be conscious of why you're transplanting a given detail. And if that is supposed to be a bandage on her arm, then it should actually look like a bandage. And in film, in live action film, that is more important than in video games, because video games can sometimes inhabit the uncanny valley. For instance, if her leg was really injured badly enough to put a dirty makeshift bandage on it, she wouldn't be putting weight on it like she is here. So, little concern there. But what I like is the actress's attitude towards the whole thing. When I was asked to take on the role, I got really excited. Lara Croft is a truly iconic character. I think people can identify with her for lots of different reasons, but for me, I very much see her as a model for many young women. She's trying to carve out her place in the world and connect her future with her past. She also has a fantastic mix of traits: tough, smart, vulnerable, plus she's kick-ass. She's also uniquely different to other characters I've taken on previously. And I like that. I like that she's treating it as a role model, as a legitimate character, not as, oh, it's a video game character, or, you know, this is a movie, not a video game, and so we have to make the character more believable, and, you know, none of that crap. She's excited. She's down with Lara. You know, all that really good stuff. I am super, super happy about that attitude. So hopefully the movie will be better than the last couple. I thought that Angelina Jolie was perfectly cast. She's great as Lara Croft. The movies were not so great. So I hope these are better. I hope, it sounds like they're just doing the game. You know, island off the coast of Japan. That's pretty much straight up the first game. And I'm curious about what they're going to do with that, because that didn't actually have a ton of story. My favorite story element in that game was going around and collecting the letters from people. I found that the most interesting. The backstory of the island was more interesting than the primary action. And I wasn't real crazy about the plot of either of the Tomb Raider reboot games, so hopefully they'll improve that. But I don't want to nitpick here. I don't want to judge something that we haven't seen. I want to applaud Alicia Vikander for coming in with the right attitude and loving the chance to play Lara Croft. And I think that for the version they're going with, she looks pretty good, you know? She's got some grit to her. She carries herself well in the part, you know, as much as a Hollywood movie is going to allow a female lead to look roughed up in promotional stills, you know, all sweaty and stuff. It's all right. It's still idealized, right? Like, I really don't think they're gonna go there the way that they should, if they're sort of loyally recreating the torture porn that was the, you know, parts of that Tomb Raider game. But there's reason to take hope from this interpretation. So after the Wonder Woman thing, that's freaking ridiculous, I wanted to give credit where credit's due. I like what she said. I'm pulling for her. I hope she does well. You know, best of luck to her. Let's hope it's good.